What's happening, Earthlings? I hope everybody is good. Everybody is alive, social distancing, keeping the health. Welcome to another installment, another episode of Out of Space. Today is episode 3 and counting. Thank you for everybody who's taking the time to watch during right now. I'm not too sure what's happening. There's actually a big game tonight, Chelsea versus Manchester City. With Manchester City lose, if they actually lose today's game, Liverpool will be crowned the champions for the first time in 30 years. But that's for Banterville, not for Out of Space. This is a safe space, an open space for all those who are keen to jump on the platform. So today, many people who know me will know her. Even those who haven't met her will know Tafatswa at Project Tafatswa. And people know her as Tap Star. People know her as Taffy. But whatever you know her as, it's always a special name. So I'd like to introduce to you today's guest, Tafatswa. What's
I
going on?
realized that's what means.
Don't worry, that's that technology. What's happening, homie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. I'm actually exhausted. Today has been one of those days where um, I don't know if I got enough sleep. No, I didn't. I did not get enough sleep,
Mm.
so I was not taking care of myself. I woke up earlier than I expected to wake up, I think. So it was just one of those days where I started slow. I was actually on leave, and I came back on Monday, I think. I think Tuesday was my first day back from work. Tuesday,
Oh yeah.
super optimistic. Hey, I'm back. I'm back. Y'all missed me, didn't
Standard.
you? Hey, come
Standard.
on. Even at the end of the day, I was like, yeah, first day back. What do you know, son? What do you know?
What do you know?
Second day, still. Hey, hey, I'm killing it,
Going
son.
hard.
I'm killing it, son. What you know? Third day, throwback. What a throwback
What?
Thursday. I was bad. I was like, damn. I think I need to go back on leave.
How are you now? Exactly. Shame, man. I
But
completely understand how that feels.
yeah, it's a game. But to be fair, if I have to be honest, it's also I can't blame work. Work is a huge part of it, but it's also lack of balance because the reason I'm tired is once
Mm.
again, even though I did sleep late the previous on Tuesday night and I still had a fresh Wednesday, your body gets tired, man. Like, you can't continuously not look after
Yeah.
yourself. So it got to a point my body was
Definitely.
like, I I mean you didn't take care of
Mm.
yourself yesterday, but
Mm.
well, we'll give you a
Mm.
warning and then you could I mean
Yes.
tomorrow we're back. But then I did the same thing again. It was like, all right, red card. Nah.
No.
Nope.
Go back.
So now I've been begging for the weekend the whole of today. I've been begging for the
Fam,
weekend. Yeah.
can I tell you, when I was working on Tuesday, I thought Tuesday was Thursday.
Mm.
I thought it was Thursday on Tuesday. And
Oh
I'm like, this is a mess.
no.
Because I'm like, it's been so hectic. Like, I feel, yeah, I also feel quite tired. And I feel like, oh gosh, like it's been so, so hectic.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've just been going. I've just been going. And ever since lockdown, and like you're working overtime, just going. And I'm just like, oh, can the weekend just arrive? All I
Dude.
want to do is just chill. I want it to rain this weekend.
Ooh.
I want flat. Like, I just want to
Oh, don't
chill, you
start.
know?
Don't start with them flapjacks because you're gonna get me
Mm.
craving.
It's a tradition in this household. Every weekend I make flapjacks. So
Oh,
that's
word!
what I'm
Every
doing.
weekend.
Every weekend, but
Yo, man, like you need to keep that for life because flapjacks are
vibes.
like I don't know. There's something so when I say childish, I don't mean the word child. Sorry, childish is the wrong word. Childlike. There's such
Mm.
a there's an innocence to it. There's a childlikeness. It's not really good for
Yeah.
you, but it's sugar. Maybe not too much sugar, but it's just a fun
Oh,
time.
you
Nje.
know, just play around with it. Put some coconut, do whatever you can with it, add some cheese or whatever. But yeah, in this household, we're like, flapjacks.
I made one big mistake. So there was a
Mm.
time I I made my girlfriend Oreo flapjacks. And
Yes.
now, so now from time to time, because I love cooking, but I don't like to cook. So like not often. So like she'll bring it up from time to time, be like, so when we're having the Oreo flapjacks, you just gonna throw them out once and then and not come back to that again? What kind of savage
Yeah,
are you?
no, completely. That's kind of how I got to this point actually, because I made flapjacks. We used to make pancakes all the time,
Yeah.
but then because like the guy loves flapjacks, I was like, okay, you know what? Let me just elevated, made flapjacks. Ah, have we gone to pancakes ever since? Have we stopped making
Wow.
flapjacks?
Look, pancakes are nice. They are nice, but man,
They are nice.
they're not full of life. You know that thickness of a flapjack.
They don't have
Every single
things.
slice, every cut that when you just cut it through the middle. Even whether it's chocolate sauce or ice cream or Nutella or chocolate sauce or whatever
Grew
it
up.
is, it just like sinks through, and every bite is just wholesome, bruh. Like, good lord, like you're even getting me
I know.
started. You're getting me. Oh,
I know.
haven't we had
I know.
flapjack moments? I'm trying to remember back in the days.
I think we had waffle moments.
Oh
I
yeah.
think we had waffle moments.
Actually, something I didn't do last week, which was actually quite poor because it would have been a nice story. But what I did in the first episode, what I like to do here and try to continuously do that would be, can you remember the first time we met? Let's talk about the first time we met. Can you recall? Come on. Tough question, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
If not the first time, one of the first. Or what's your earliest, most fondest memory or most fond memory terms of our early days. I don't mean like when we had like our DMCs, but one of our early memories.
Yeah, sus, dude. Can I even remember? I definitely, I think I don't. It's not necessarily like a specific memory, but
Yeah.
what I can remember, maybe it's the accumulation of feelings. So like first year, I can't remember how we met, but I just remember when we met, I'm like, this guy is just cool. So I think that was just more of like I remember the feeling that I had. Like this is
Okay.
like a
Yeah.
constant struggle that I have with people where I'm like, I don't remember how we met, but I remember how I felt when I met you. And I'm like, I just remember this bliss. Like each time I met you would speak and I'm like, okay.
That's the only.
I do remember though that I felt like you were such a cool kid that I couldn't be friends with you because I
Really?
felt, yeah,
What
I was like,
what made
okay,
you think that?
I don't know. I think it was just your vibe. Like I was just like, okay, here I am just coming in from my school, and you're coming in from your school, and you had all your Crawford people,
Oh, we were
right?
like all there. Like a lot of us were just all there.
Yeah, and I'm just like, it's too cool for school. I can't. But you kept saying hi, and you remembered my name, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, we're good. All right, I made it, Mama.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy how the such a small thing can stick? Remembering people's name or just remembering something of somebody. You know.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of what you said, on my website, there's one quote that I have on my website which resonates with me, and I always have to look it up so I don't butcher the words. So it's a quote
Mm-hmm.
From Maya Angelou, rest her soul. Um, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yes, exactly,
And I'm exactly the
exactly.
same. I can't even tell you the first time we met because, and I know why. The reason is because that first month, I guess, of Tux, it was just like, and I can see where the cool kid thing came from. I was just full of energy. It's like new chapter alert, new chapter alert.
Yeah,
Ah, oh my God, it's
yeah,
varsity,
yeah.
papa. For me, like I was at Crawford for from like grade 0 to grade 12. Grade 0 to grade
Yes,
12.
yeah.
I was in one place the whole time. Crawford, Pretoria,
Mhm.
just to be specific. Um, so I remember the freedom that I
Mm,
felt going into varsity.
yeah.
That energy was so delightful. It was so delicious. It was
Mm,
really really endearing. Having that
mm,
energy, you know. So I remember I think that's what it was. Like I met so many people, so many of our friends, and acquaintances and mutual friends and acquaintances that we have. I just remember meeting them in bits and pieces, and we all know each
yeah.
other. But I remember it was just like soup, 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 soup. So
Mm,
so just to move that to the side. So the first time I can't remember the first time I met you, and that's why. But I can remember the feeling that that I got from you because
mm,
I still consider you, even though we don't speak like we used to, but that's kind of part of the circle of life.
mm,
I still consider you to be one of my confidants. I
mm.
remember, and I think we actually bonded over tea, like sincerely
Yes,
bonded over tea.
we did.
And what
Yeah.
thank you, technology, because I had issues setting up and we almost didn't make it on time. Today I was gonna resonate with sorry, with tea. Now
Yeah.
I have to resonate with still water and juice. I'm so
It's all right.
annoyed. I was like,
It's all right.
there's 1 minute, because I really wanted to kind of like I
Mm,
wanted to have that same energy, but it doesn't really matter. But yeah, we
yeah.
really sincerely bonded over tea. But
Mm,
I always
mm,
remember, I honestly felt that you, amongst the group of people we knew, or the group of people I was exposed to, you were probably one of the realest people. And by real, I think real is such a difficult thing because I would say that we're all energy in life, different parts of energy. And I feel like when you're real and you live really or really
mm.
or realistically, your energy is so sincere and it's also shaped. It's almost like a lightsaber because and forgive me, Star Wars fans, like the stone that you get, I forget the name. Like it's pure energy, but when it's put into the actual lightsaber and it's molded and constructed in a specific way, it beams up into a specific lightsaber, whether it's double sided or however it's done. So it's kind of like that. You were refined energy because you were yourself. And for me,
Mm,
it's such a
yeah.
genuine thing, and it's still rare today. Still today,
Mm,
it's a rare thing to find because people. I mean, you see these guys, and I'm not judging people because I don't know what's happening in different people's lives, but you'll see some dudes who only really find themselves at 54 after they've had 6 kids from different baby
yeah.
mamas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
No, no joke.
or leaving their wives for a young hot thing, and only after being that young hot thing they're like, you know what? Yeah,
I was happy.
and the
Yeah.
damage is already done, which is a sad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, completely so.
And I think what I'd like to, just from that little bit of that little segment that we had there, I'd like people to also remember, I think a lot of great friendships are lost,
Mm,
through what people believe friendship should be. Everybody
yeah.
is entitled to their own perspective to it, but I think what's central is, sometimes you just have people who you really are in sync with, and you do grow apart, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the sincerity of what you had disappears. It's just that it's taken
Exactly.
different shape, you know.
Exactly.
So for all of y'all who have that homie who was like from back in the day, you thought like they moved to different city, different country, and you're just like, nah, he's not my homie no more. Maybe give them a call, right, or send them a WhatsApp or a Facebook message now. It's like, just say what's up. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about you. So I think that's the reality. I mean, I definitely agree with you. It's that thing of I've been seeing with time that as long as you still love that person and you still care about the person, time in itself is not a factor, right?
word.
Distance itself is not a factor. So I remember that even when you were in America, I'm like, okay, I'm still sending my prayers to you, love to you. I hope you're well. And we have a little catch up here and there and then go. But I always believe in when the friendship is genuine and the connection is genuine, then it doesn't matter. You just pick up from where you left off, and I love that about the friends that have stayed consistent over time, because then I think now in our age we're starting to see who are the real ones. Like now we're like, oh, okay, cool. Like we're actually still good. So I love the fact that I can still speak to my select few people and say, hey, I miss you, how are you? I remember from our last conversation we spoke about this, how's it going? And we're good. We don't have to worry about, okay, but you haven't been speaking to me for the past couple of months. Like, so I don't think, because then that's just frivolous. That's just, life is
Yeah,
happening. We're all adulting, we're all trying to navigate it. But I mean, the beauty of just picking up from where you left off, like that for me is true friendship. I'm like, okay, cool. We can carry on and just go and just know I always got your back.
yeah, and you know what? Like,
Yeah.
I think, and maybe to add on to that, I understand as well that many people have different love languages, and sometimes that's what that plays into that. What I would
Mm,
implore some people to think about as well is just think, take into note, other people's love languages. I've learned over time that one of my fallacies, or not fallacies, but one of my weaknesses rather, was that I tend to um be empowered or become drunk in my own love language. And it's so
mm,
easy to think that because you're doing all the things, you feel like, this will make me feel loved. This
yeah,
is what I need. Because I mean,
yeah.
I even realized, because also, like, some of my friends, like some of my close friends, what they required from me changed over time. And that's
Mm,
fine, but I always believe in finding that middle part. Sometimes friendships change. Once again, that's the thing. Someone can love you dearly, but maybe that friendship just changes. So you might need to maybe you
yeah.
find a different friend who actually satisfies that need. But just don't forget that, the sincerity of what you had didn't necessarily die. It either evolved or grew up or changed or whatever, maybe it morphed. So, and it's a tricky thing. Friends are a tricky thing, man. Like, I
Friends
mean,
are hella tricky.
yeah, especially the older you get, as you said, like, especially these new ones who pop up.
Yeah, and then you have to evaluate, like, okay, so cool, how are we gonna work this? But you make such a good point in the fact that and I think it happens in the different kinds of relationships that you have with people, right?
Mm,
Having to learn that you shouldn't get drunk on your own love language because it's very easy to think that
yeah, it's blinding.
other people, it's very blinding that other people need to be loved the way you want to be loved. And I guess the sentiment of, like, yes, love other people because you want to be loved, but I think we don't actually dig deeper into how our friends want to be loved. So
Yes,
I
normally
know
our
for some of my
partners, our romantic partners, not our friends.
normally our partners that we invest that energy into. So with my friends, I know, like, I think only like in the most recent years where actually I'm like, okay, you know what? This person just wants company, or this person really just wants me just to call them and just give them that attention. They just want their attention, they want the time, you know. Whereas for me, I'm happy with a Tef. I just sent you, like, ice cream, or I just sent you this, or I'm very easy when it comes to my friends. As long as I know they still love me, then I'm good, or as long as they pick up whenever I need them. I feel like I'm still welcome, then I know I'm good. But then for them, that for some of my friends, it's more, but I need more active presence. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I had to just be like, Tef, whenever I feel that nudge, or whenever I feel that thing to be like, you need to check on that person, I try by all means to follow that voice, because like 100% of the time when I call them up or I say, hey, how are you? They're like, whoa, guy, thank you so much for reaching out to me. Actually, I haven't been okay, etc., etc., etc. So it's also just kind of being really in tune with ourselves and making sure that we pay attention to our voices, because sometimes our strong friends and also our not so strong friends are calling out for us, but we're not listening. We're just pushing it aside and just saying, well, no, what am I going to do now? I'm busy, I'm tired, but actually we need to still reach out. I digress there, but
no,
that
yeah,
part
yeah,
is
yeah.
important.
Nah, man, but there's also that life component. I think the moment you start to get into formal societal structures, or where rather you're more accountable, or you're a key player. Now your parents are no longer there.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
it really becomes distractive, or destructive and distracting, because you start to become so in tuned in what you need to survive. It's a survival
Yes.
mentality. I gotta wake up in the morning, and I need to eat at some point. I need to make sure that my work is done, or whatever I'm accountable for is up to scratch. If you're living with your partner, or if you're in love, or if you're in a relationship, or whatever it may be, you have to make sure that you pour into that. And it's kind of like,
Mm.
and all of that. That's already a full day, maybe even a day or two. I haven't even gotten into your passions, what you love.
Yep.
If this is now if you're in formal employment, or doing things on the
Mm.
side. So now I haven't even
Mm.
gotten to friends. It's kind of like you try to balance, you try to balance all of these things, and it's tricky, and it's
Yep.
hard, because I think for me, for example, once again, I speak to my weaknesses. Is I think what I was really good at initially, and it's kind of more because I really had time and I didn't realize how much time I had. I was really good
Mm.
at splitting my time. amongst people. Like I was all over the place. You know, that's whenever I came
Mm,
back from the States, we'd go for catch ups. I had catch ups with different people. We'd be out, we'd be doing this. I could split myself sincerely. Now it's like
mm,
I'm in a proper, let me not say proper, but I'm in a strong relationship. I'm in
mm,
a strong, well, I'm in formal employment. I
mm.
have my musical career and my content creating career, and it's kind of like there's hardly any wiggle room. And when you
Yeah.
actually also when you lack balance, when you don't exercise enough, or you're not eating properly, or you're not getting enough sleep, it's so rocky to kind of try to find time for people. And I've realized that people are so accustomed to me being able to split that time. Now, what I've become bad at is distributing time to the right things at the right time. So now
Mm,
I'm figuring
mm,
all of that. But I also realize that life is tricky, and every it doesn't get easier for all the kids out there who should be in bed, who are up right now watching Outer Space. Let me tell you something that they won't tell you in your formal education or even
no.
on the streets.
Mm-mm.
Life just gets harder the older you get. I know you want to be Ronaldo. I know you want to make money, get your first Mercedes Benz, win the lotto, go to Miami, whatever it may be. Let me tell you
Yeah,
something.
that's the website.
Regardless of all of that, it just doesn't get easier. It just
Yep.
doesn't get easier every year.
Yep.
Doesn't matter
Yep.
if you make more money, less money. Obviously, the levels
Mm.
differ, but it doesn't matter what happens in your life. The older you get, the harder it gets. In my
And
opinion.
so it's so funny that you say that because I had a moment today, like as I was going through work and did these presentations and kind of just speaking to these clients and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? Is it just me, or does it just get harder and harder? Like, and I'm like, why does it feel like the higher you get, the harder it gets? And I'm just like, you know what? I think it's also all part of the growth process, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So if it becomes easier, then it's a problem. There's a problem if it's becoming easier. If it's because that means you're going to become complacent, you're going to get comfortable, you're not going to grow and get to the place that you need to be and be the person that you need to be. But I thought about it and I'm just like, you know what? Like, thank God that it is getting more challenging because it's crafting me and refining me to be the person that I need to be, to, get into the roles that I need to get into, to build up to the things that I need to build up to. But yeah, like really trying to finesse that balancing is also quite important because, and I think this is why
100%.
I say you have to hear that voice inside of you that's telling you that fam, just sleep, or go for a walk, or your body's not okay. You have to like really be so self-attentive that you can actually hear that, reach out to that person, or just you need to rest, or work for one more hour and then that's it, cut it off, or have boundaries. So I think it's been really interesting in this season, especially to be able to just sit back and say, how am I doing? How am I doing this? What am I building up to again? Okay, what's really important? What's helping me? What's not helping me? Something as simple as, for example, like, I've also just been detoxing my Instagram. So I've been making
Nice.
sure that the accounts that don't serve me, I'm just like, okay, actually, why am I following you again? Mm-mm, you make me feel some type of way. Like, so there's a holistic um, activity or holistic exercise that we have to do. And I think on a regular basis, we have to do this on a regular basis. And it's also with our friends, fam. I think also just still on this topic of friends, we have to do a holistic exercise on our friends to say, all right, for me, myself, with these specific friends, how am I doing? Am I putting in the love and attention that I should be in this relationship? Should I, how can I do better? Because that's something I also have to think about from time to time,
You
with
have
some
to.
of my friends. I realized that I'm like, okay, they've gotten so busy, and I remember that actually they have a lot on their plate to have reach out, So I was thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, um, we often get guilty of, for example, like getting used to you reaching out to us, right? But the onus is on us to also reach out to you to be like, oh wait, Carter hasn't said anything. Let me actually be like, okay, yo, how you doing? Or just send a gift, or just saying, hey, still here. Hope you're well. But I think the onus is on us to try to take that responsibility wherever possible. It doesn't have to be a 2-hour conversation. It doesn't have to
Nah.
be a full on. just a few, just I'm sending you love. I'm just being there for you. And you never know at what point like that person is in. You don't know if, they're super sad. You don't know if they're just so frustrated and they just needed a moment to remember that they're loved or it's going to be okay. So
Yeah,
yeah.
listen to the energy. Like actually, someone said to me recently, because remember I used to have a lot of random moments. So I haven't done those in a long ass time. But I did
Yeah.
one in the past month or two. I sent a message to someone. I think it was a voice note. Um,
Mm,
and in all honesty, to me, in that moment, it didn't really mean much at the time. Like, and when I say it didn't mean much, I mean it was something it was genuine in the moment, and
mm,
then it kind of just like, okay, thanks, cheers, bye. It was just that type of thing.
mm,
Where and then they told me recently, they were like, yo, man, like that day, like you sent me that voice note, like I had to think for a second. I was just like, yo, you stimulated something, and just by that checking in, it seems so harmless, just a text, how you doing, how's life, or what's going on, how
mm.
your parents, sometimes the simplest of things sometimes just reminds people of, like, who are you, take a breather, it's all right, and it can trigger something
Yeah.
in someone. So take the time to really check on the people you love, guys, especially during this time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure people are
Especially,
losing their minds.
yeah, completely. So just to say hi, how you doing? Even if things are so hectic, honestly, I'm seeing that things can wait, eh?
Mm,
Like we get stressed, but I'm like, things can wait.
they
Like
can.
if someone is pressing on your heart and you're worried about someone, like holler at them because there's a very good chance that actually they aren't okay. And in this day and age or in this time, who's actually 100% okay, who's actually like 100% like, okay, I'm fully content, life is good. People actually have moments of frustrations, people have moments of doubts, people have moments of anxiety. Like, reach out, pull up, just say hi. Doesn't have to be a whole 2-hour session.
Mm-mm. Mental
Mm.
health is, and that's a portion of it as well, and we all have to do our part to be there for each other and ourselves. And you spoke
Yeah.
about consistent and active, proactive, what you call it, retrospection and introspection. Super
Mm,
important.
mm,
Find your form of meditation and figure it out. And sometimes
mm.
it changes. Like my form of meditation used to be many different things. Now it's completely evolved because of my energy has changed. I've grown. My experiences have changed. My perspectives have changed. My experiences have
Yeah.
changed. So continuously rediscover yourself and take the time to do that as well.
Oh, yeah. That's highly important. I'm a huge advocate of that because I think at the end of the day, if we do not, actually sit down and start, downloading what's going on in our minds, what's going on in our hearts, like
Mm,
actually being like, okay, Tev, how you doing, bruh? Like, let's discuss this, because I mean, there's sometimes where I just sit back and I'm realizing it more and more now that I ended up building this habit of, kind of hiding myself through work.
mm-hmm.
So I'll be working, 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 and just kind of getting so tired that I end up, I guess, not like I glorified being tired, but I think it was more around I had an excuse for not having to deal with things.
Yeah.
So I was just working and just going and pushing and like, then when done with work and I get home or once I'm at home, I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. All I want to do is just nothing,
Bam.
you know? I want to do nothing. I want to do enough, and that is my reason. I would excuse it, but then the reality is that I'm just trying to run away from what my heart needs to deal with. I'm trying to run away from, the God voice inside of me just telling me that listen, we need to deal with certain things because you're just running yourself out. So it's really really important to just take those times and just listen out because this is why you end up feeling things in your body, right? You end up having these migraines or you're just getting these pains in your body or your
Mm-hmm.
skin is acting up and you're wondering like, oh, like, no, maybe I just had something bad to eat. It's like, no,
Nope.
actually your body is carrying so much stress and we're just not dealing with it okay. Like, I think we're just really getting into a time where we're like, guys, we just need to actually pay attention to ourselves and really take care of ourselves.
Mm, mm, mm. 100%. What you call it? And when it comes to looking after yourself, I think the number one thing, well, and I forget it all the time. I want to say it now. And it's not me being a hypocrite. I'm just human. Like we always forget. You can make time. Like it doesn't matter
Oh yeah.
how important something is, you can make time. There's always time.
Oh yeah.
Life is short,
Mm.
but there's a lot of time. There's a lot of
Mm.
time,
Mm.
and we forget
It's
about
just
it.
about priority.
Yeah, hundred
Mm.
percent, 100%.
It's about priorities. What do you want to invest in? What's important to you? Because it's what's yeah. This is what it always trips me up, man. Like it always gets me when it's like you know, whatever is important to you, you will make time for, right? So for me, if it's like okay, I love to have quality time with my partner, right? That for me is important to me, right? And then I'm like, okay, cool. Then I'm like, what's also important to me? Okay, I love food. Food is important to me. So I'm like, yes, I'm going to cook or I'm going to make sure we eat. But there are a lot of things that you end up making so important to you. And it really just comes down to how are you prioritizing your time? So, for example, like going on to the topic about how do you bring your passions into your time,
Mm.
right? So this is something I've also had to like try to figure out because you have your 9 to 5, you have your life. Family is also happening. Let's not even forget, especially African families, everything everywhere.
Hey,
There's levels, and so you have all of that, but then you also have the dreams that have been set in your heart, and you can kind of you're just looking at it. You're like, okay, there are these dreams and plans that have been placed before me, and I really need to find time to be able to build them up because I can't just wake up tomorrow and then I am 40 and then what? Like,
yeah,
have I done anything? And
magic
the
doesn't
reality,
exist. You can't go back.
you can't go back. And the worst part is that you can't even blame it on, oh no, but actually I needed this equipment or I needed this or I needed that. Where it's like, actually, you have everything you need for the things that you need to do. You actually have everything you need, just actually need to do it. So I know like I'd have these ideas and I'll have these plans and like, literally the man will be like, so when are you starting? You'll be like, when are you starting? And I'm like, no, yeah, no. It's fine. But then actually I realized the only thing that was stopping me was the fear of succeeding. Like what happens if I actually get it right and then it's actually out there and people actually see it and people actually like it. You don't really care. Like failing, you already. Oh, I like to think that the more you don't do it, the more you're failing yourself because you're
Yeah,
not giving yourself the opportunity to showcase what is inside of you. But like the failing is easy. Like I do feel like failing is easy because I feel like failure for me, I have been doing it when I don't do what I need to do. But when I do what I need to do, oh, does it not feel amazing? Does it not feel like, oh, I'm actually living my purpose? I'm actually doing what I'm meant to be doing. And then when it goes out there and someone actually interacts with it and it actually connects with them and they're like, you know what, I couldn't find the words. Thank you so much. Then I'm like, cool, I've done it. I've succeeded. That is my form of success. When I know that my work has come out and like the purpose has actually been met by someone and it's actually changing their heart.
mm, mm.
I went deep there, but I think
Yeah, that's
basically to try
powerful.
and make yeah, to try and make that time, you can make the time. It's just a matter of do you find it important?
Mm.
Do you really find it important? Because you're gonna make a lot of things you're gonna find important, you're gonna prioritize, but do you find that important? And at the end of the day, you're the only person to blame if it doesn't go out and someone really needed it.
Boom. And ironically, I'm gonna link that into something else that we spoke about actually previously, and it's actually something, and I'm passionate about what I'm about to say, and it's not
Yeah.
passion based on action because I can't say I've done much, but it's passion based on how I feel. You and
Mm.
I spoke when we were first talking about this. I believe in that same conversation. We were talking about formal education, informal or structured
Mm.
education. So
Mm-hmm.
I got into my second Facebook
Yes.
brawl. I think that's what I don't know what it's called. I don't know if it's a Facebook war, bro. It does argue whatever.
Mm.
So I posted. Um, so I'm gonna come back into what we spoke to. So I'm gonna start somewhere else. Um, I posted an article. It was an opinion piece about
Yes.
the author essentially said we should be teaching African history at school. So then, long story short, the person I had a Facebook brawl with was basically saying, they're basically saying, yeah, but who says it isn't? Um, And long story short, they were busy saying that, I'm since I'm not an educator, I'm not in the profession. How can I go about judging people in that space who are doing their best, to? And I was just like, I'm not even talking about the educators. And ironically, the same thing I'm bringing up, I've asked different people, and she's like, "Yo," and
Yeah.
because she said I'm jumping to conclusions, theoretically these things. I'm like, dude, I went through the education system, and I asked people from public schools, I've asked people from private schools, from um, middle class to lower class areas to higher class. I've
Mm.
asked everyone across the spectrum, and they've all said the same thing. It
Yeah.
is, it's his African history is taught,
Mm.
but it's taught in on the lens and the perspective of the Western eye or the Western mind.
Oh yes. Oh
A-
yes.
And
Oh
then
yes.
she was saying, and one of the things that this person said to me was that, yeah, but they do teach about African scientists who were there prior in grade 10. I was like, how many? And this is not a shot at history. I'm just arguing facts. How many people in the country choose history as a major in grade 10? And I can say the same about science and everything. I'm just saying not everybody does it. Not everybody does it.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna start introducing some of those things at a later stage, you're missing out the majority of people in the
That's
country.
the point.
And I was
Mm-hmm.
and my whole point around the whole topic was, I'm not saying they teach nothing. My point
Mm.
is there is a general lack of identity in terms
Mm.
of our history. And I always look at Europeans. Other African
Mm.
countries are a little bit better at it than us. I won't lie. I look at Europeans, even Americans to some extent. Dude, whether you're from Slovakia, St. Louis, Missouri, Paris, a lot of the people, and obviously not everyone, because not everybody remembers everything, but people kind of have a good general idea of the history of that place.
Yeah.
Of that place, a
Yeah.
really good history. They can recite it, and it's what's really focused on in the education systems there. Here, I mean, they teach about African history, but then they bring in World War. They bring in she gave an example. She's like, okay, for example, because she was talking about the psychological readiness of kids who are younger. I was like, and then she said, would you teach Marikana to a grade 7 learner? And I said, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't happen because of the political attachments to it, but I said to her, counter question: do they not teach World War, the Anglo-Boer War, World War II,
Thank you.
the Holocaust?
Cold War. All
I,
of it.
I was in grade 5 and they brought us a Holocaust survivor, and he was saying, "Oh, kids, let me tell you something. It's tough, man. I almost died. They were killing us." I was just like, they are teaching things that at that age we're not really ready to understand the depth, and that's fine. I don't think those things are taught for us to understand the full extent of them at that age. Was to kind of plant
Mm.
the seed. And as you get older, as you understand sociology, as you understand mankind and how the world works, these seeds start to, they start to bloom a little bit and they grow. And I was just like, and I'm not trying to target this person, because I said to that person, Facebook is not gonna cut it. We gotta talk in person because you're not getting my point.
Mm.
I'm not fighting
Mm.
against educators. I actually, after reading a lot, I have full respect for
Oh
scholars, for
yes.
educators. I mean,
Mm.
it's so unfortunate that in today's society, they are not valued the way they did previously. I mean, it's a shame. They're not paid the same, or
Very
equally,
much
or
so.
it's so unfortunate. So I'm gonna remove that person and come back to the education system.
Mm.
It needs to be overhauled in many different areas, and we can debate about it. Of course, this is once again an opinion piece because if I could present you with actual facts, it would help, but I don't have them. I'm just a person who's gone through the education system and has spoken to others who have. My belief is that, especially now, I can't say in the past, in our time. I think there's a lot more literature available about African history. They should be
Mm.
teaching it from grade R to grade 9 as fundamental. coloring
Yes.
coloring books that have Shaka Zulu, coloring books
Mm.
that have Queen Amina from Nigeria, coloring books, because
Mm.
those are
Mm.
fundamental things. Small things, not coloring books. Yeah, Shaggy and Scooby Doo. You know,
Mm.
we don't, from those things to simple stories. And I must actually look right. I must look for it. I saw and I hope I saved it on my phone. There's actually a website that's where they have these authors. I think it's moms, a group of moms who started this company. They sell
Mm-hmm.
African stories and books
Oh
from
yeah.
kindergarten level to a little bit more advanced. So not to digress, but bring those storytelling things in. And some people will say,
Mm.
"Oh, but now you want people to learn Black history only." No, African history details what happened in Africa. So colonialists came in, slaves from India came in, people from China came in. Different, or let me not say just say China, but Asia in particular. The African history context. They should make sure that we are specialists to a basic degree. Even though that's a
Yeah.
contrast, but to a basic degree, we all have a fundamental understanding. What happened in the gold rush in Ghana? What happened in
Mm.
Nigeria? What's happening in
Mm-hmm.
Congo? Like the real
Mm-hmm.
stories. What actually happened in
Mm-hmm.
South Africa prior? And a lot more stories about Bo Tambo, Miriam
Mm-hmm.
Makeba. Let's actually deep down into these things. And it can be done. I'm not saying tomorrow we must go march and they must change it now. No. I just wish that they could actually start an initiative. If they haven't, I don't know, maybe they have. But if there was an initiative running to say in 20 years, because we love to lack patience. They said 20 years we're redesigning the education system. This is the plan. This is what we're implementing.
Completely.
So that people can have a
Completely.
real strong sense of identity of what has happened in Africa for real. I bought a book.
Mm.
I didn't even know, and I was saying to someone, I don't remember learning that the first university in the world was in what you call it, was in Mali. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
of these
I,
famous Greek philosophers that we read about went there
yes. To learn.
to learn.
Yeah.
The African
Not
mind
to.
is phenomenal. Not to,
Yeah.
no. The African mind and the history were so phenomenal. And a lot of people, when I was in America, a lot of white Americans said, yeah, but if the colonists didn't come, then, well, you guys wouldn't have technology, you wouldn't have skyscrapers today. And I was just like, that could be true, but you have no proof of that. First of all, we could be
Mm.
further advanced. We could be living in Wakanda right now. This
We
could be
were.
Wakanda, United States of
Yeah.
Africa. That could be it
Yeah.
right now. We don't know.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
belief is that we were super advanced. We couldn't
Yes.
communicate with the colonialists. I do believe they had wicked intentions,
Mm.
and that played a part in it, but they also didn't understand. But also the other part is maybe we were lied to. Maybe they knew exactly what the fuck was going on, and they knew that
Oof.
like if we actually just contributed a little bit, these Africans are gonna be above us. And ironically, from what we've been told orally and what we understand, what's in text as well,
Mm.
that wasn't really part of our nature.
Mm.
You know. Woo!
First of all,
Had to get it off
I
my
don't even
heart,
know where to
on my
begin. No, I
chest.
thought.
Gosh.
No, get it out. Get it out. Get it out. Oh my gosh, this has been a hot topic in my household. Like,
Yeah.
we've been speaking about it, and where to even begin? Please bear with me, ne?
No, no, no way. I didn't even. I was just shooting all over the place because it hurts
Yeah,
me.
I know, but I have. Don't worry, I got good news for you. But I think there's a lot of things I've been learning from my partner, and so first things first, what he's been doing is that he's been taking my little siblings as well as his nieces and nephews because they live in America and Canada. So you have these, kids living, born and growing
Sup,
in
auntie?
America. Yeah, I know. With their Zimbabwean names
Yeah.
and everything. What he is doing is that he's making sure that they get African history lessons and Bible study lessons, but having a good understanding of where you as an African you come from. So where do you come from Zim, but also where do our people come from,
Yeah.
right? So taking into an understanding the fact that as the generation before us and the generations prior to us, how history got learned was obviously through oral,
Oral.
right? So we learned from our uncles and everything and that what this history was because they knew that if they were to put it on paper, anyone can just come and manipulate it and then take it. But the most important way of telling a story was orally um, through stories, music, and etc. etc. Yeah.
100%.
So the thing that now got lost was the fact that there were key people that were story holders, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And um, okay, let me pack that part first.
Okay.
Then the point around children needing to learn African history is very critical
Critical.
because for children to learn African history, it's a fundamental thing of learning where they come from and who they are. The reason why we don't learn African history, and I'll tell you why, it's not to say the educators don't want to teach us, but the system has been set up in such a way that us African children should not know our strength and should not know our origin. Because if we did, if we actually just had a little bit of the light and understood exactly where we come from and the strength of queens and kings that we come from, don't you think that we'll be questioning things a lot more and then challenging things a lot more,
Hundred
right? So
percent.
systemically, they don't want things to be told as a child, because a child's mind, that developmental space, this is the critical time when they're going from grade R to grade 9, it's growing, it's developing, right? So fine, sharp. You want to bring it in the grade 10, knowing very well that not a lot of people are going to be choosing history, but actually you need to be teaching it. And you need to be teaching people history that goes beyond colonization. So what were our people like before that? How do we communicate? How did we migrate? How was Africa as a continent separated? And how did we all know each other and communicate with each other and knew our strengths, right? As a continent, going way, way back to a continent of people who were very generous. We knew the resources that we had. We
100%.
used to take them and go and travel, and we would travel around the world and
Around, oh,
give
don't
people.
let them lie to you.
Don't let them lie to you. We knew the world. We used to be very generous. But then what happened was, ne, colonial people were like, listen, there's something happening in that place called Africa with these dark skinned people. They come here, they see what we have. Long story short, they were like, listen, we need to make sure that we have power and we should continue to see the power today. I don't care about skyscrapers. I don't care about cars. I don't care about whatnot because I know that my people were smart. If we knew how to look at the stars, if we knew how to look at the weather to see, listen, danger is coming, or rains are coming, or whatever is going to happen is going to happen. This is how we build wealth. This is how we know how to get here, how to get there, or whatever it is. But we were intellects. We, like exactly what you said, the first university being in Mali. We are intellectual people. That is still in our blood, and that is still transcending through to us. If there's a reason why we're still being trying to like being kneed down on our necks. Sorry to say that, but if we're being pressed down, surely as African children, we need to look at ourselves and say, guys, there must be something very special about us because why do we keep going through havoc? Why do we keep going through all of this resistance? There's something special that they don't want
We're
us to know,
continuously oppressed, regardless of the era.
regardless. So I personally believe, like we, as our generation, I always like to look at things and be like, okay, what can we do? What are the next steps? What are the actionables? And I think what is very important for us right now is to continue wherever possible. Let's have those conversations with our elders and be like, okay, tell me where I come from. Tell me the people that I come from. I've been going on this journey, right? I've been going on this journey of being like, okay, so where did my people come from? Please like break down me and my families and the lineage that I come from. Who are these women that I come from? Who are these spiritual people that I come from? Because I'm like, I am not the way I am just for the sake of. I do believe that we are an accumulation of things that has passed through time, through these generations, and that's where our history lies. You know what I mean? So we need to take the active steps. Google's not going to tell us everything because remember the things that go into Google, people have intention with what they want to put on Google.
100%.
We need to actually go to our families, those uncles that we've been ignoring, and we're like, oh no, I don't want to. No, those ones.
Yeah.
Those are the need to go to and be like, okay, so tell me about my grandfather, my great grandfather, where we came from, how did we get here? How did our people get to this point? And then when you actually bring all the pieces together, so this is exactly what we're talking about educating children. We need to stop getting into this place where we just take one source as the holy grail. So we need to take the learnings that we're getting orally, the things that we're seeing from the history books, because there's going to be some sort of truth.
Yeah, 100%.
They've omitted some stuff, right? So we take that piece, take the Bible, take Google, take whatever, take all of these pieces and piece them together so you can actually see where are the gaps. Because I guarantee you, like we've been on this journey and we're seeing so many connections. I'm like, wow, okay, so actually I'm connected to this person and that makes a lot of sense because I end up doing this. Or actually this is where my people come from and this is why we're majority in this region and etc. Which is why we end up like this. So it's just that thing of we need to be very active in our learning. We have to be very intentional in our learning. We have to do the work, unfortunately, yes,
Yeah,
but
we
we
do.
have to in order for us to know what exactly where we come from. And when it comes to the next generation of kids, for whoever wants kids out there, with our kids we have to teach them. The system hasn't been set up in the way for them to be liberated, for them to be able to identify themselves at school. It's not set up that way. But when they come home, be like, listen, okay, cool, you had your schooling moment there, but now let's sit down. I'm going to give you proper school. you know Funny enough, earlier this evening, I was watching an episode of Red Table Talk where
Will Smith,
Jade,
father's one.
yes, man, the Father's Day.
Wait. Let me guess what
I,
you're gonna say. Are you gonna use the line where he says, "Wait, school is everywhere"?
yes,
I watched it. I was like, "Yeah, Will. Yeah, Will."
yeah. I was like, thank you. School
Yeah.
is everywhere. So if you can make sure that your kids are with you and you are learning and you are teaching them, it's critically. Oh my gosh, it's so important. Oh, and then the other point I wanted to make. So this person that was busy hollering at you on Facebook about no, it's going to be kids are going to be too young, whatever. Do you know in Germany they make sure that kids from a young age learn about the Holocaust from scratch, as in every single detail. Like they make sure that those kids get immersed into Holocaust. They take them to the old concentration camps. They make them experience every single thing because for them, their belief is that for history not to repeat itself, these kids need to learn from a very early age what it means to actually hate and discriminate so you don't do it again. So they don't try hide it. They're like, listen, what happened in the past is real. It happened, but you need to learn what happened so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that kids will be too young to learn about stuff that could be horrific, that could be heartbreaking, that could be whatever, because if they can do it, surely we can too. You know what I mean?
And
So
the question
once
I'd
again,
ask,
I was like,
sorry, just to add there. The question I would ask is just as a litmus test. If you're saying, because now you're saying that they're not teaching these things because kids are too young. My question is, has it worked?
have we tried it?
No, I mean the system that's currently working. Has it worked?
As in our system?
Yeah, about it being
No, it doesn't work.
doesn't work. It's not working.
It's not working because you have conversations like, I mean, if you're having conversations with my little siblings, you can see I'm like, okay, no, guys, y'all need to know where we came from.
Yeah, my nieces. Oh my gosh.
I'm like, you always need to know where we came from because you're developing into a certain kind of people that, yeah, fine, with every generation, the world is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a lot more connected. It's going to be a very different spiritual space. But you need to understand where you came from so you know exactly what you're fighting against and
Mm.
how you need to fight. Sorry to bring the fights, but it is a fight. We are at war. Like you have to know how you need to fight and where your heart comes from. You need to know where your passions come from, where your intellect comes from, where
Yeah.
your behaviors come from. So you understand. I mean, I've always, and I mean, like my partner and I always speak about it, right? Like where we envy a lot of cultures in South Africa because a lot of cultures have still been held to be so pure and intrinsic. Like you know exactly where you come from, you know your clan names, you know your traditional attire for any occasion, you know exactly what needs to happen as a family and you don't waver,
Mm.
and that's your strength. You know what I mean? Whereas for us Zimbabweans, back home, a lot of things got taught out of us, and a lot of things got hidden for a certain reason, and it breaks my heart sometimes because I mean, we were sitting there like, so what is our traditional clothing? Like when you guys have Heritage Day, I'm always jealous, and I'm like, so what do I wear? Like
Yeah.
but it's just those little things because it's just like it's stripping away your identity, it's stripping away who you actually are, who we need to be proud of, you know? So now we have to do a lot of digging. Like I am digging, fam. Like I'm digging for traditional attire. I'm digging for my totem pros. I'm digging for all of these identifiers because I know that my people were designed a certain way, and
Yeah,
then there's a power in people, and that actually this is why I am the way I am. So let me actually just dig into it and learn about it so that I know how I need to carry it further. I don't want my kids to not know where they come from. No, they need to know.
they
They
have
need to
to.
know where they come from and the kind of people that they come from so they can stand true, be authentic, and be proud of where they come from, and then therefore navigate life the way they need to.
Mm. And
Mm.
I just want to emphasize, because this is not, once again, it's not a shot at the person I was brawling with, because it's actually a family member. Spicy. It's not a shot. It's
My
just
bad.
that we're all trying to do what's right moving forward.
Mm,
What's gonna get us out of the situation, the cycle of which Black people or Africans in
mm,
particular are. And I
mm.
think if other cultures, your Afrikaans, your English, or your and the rest, I'm not gonna name them all. I think this is not an exclusive. It's not an exclusive conversation, because one thing that annoyed me about a lot of the Americans, and let me rush my point because I see there's about 4 minutes left. One thing
Oh,
that,
really?
yeah, it goes right.
My bad.
uh, no, it's excellent. One thing that annoyed me about a lot of the Americans I engaged with was the lack of, they lacked their own identity. It was kind of like history, and
Mm.
obviously not all Americans, but just the ones I engaged. History started when Columbus came to America. I'm like, no,
Was he the first?
dog. Huh?
No.
It's like, no,
Was he the first one?
exactly. He had a whole family. He had homies, cousins, colleagues. There's a whole civilization and a history of civilization. Prior to that, but there doesn't seem to be a yearning of where do I
Mm,
really come from? Because it doesn't mean just
mm,
because your ancestor is from Rome, it means that you're not American or something. Or if your ancestor is from the Netherlands and you're not a South African, it's got nothing to do with that. I think I've asked Afrikaans people, not many though. I must actually do it more. I've asked, like, who your ancestors, your family comes from. Very few are able to give me something of significance, like that could really. I'm not saying Black Africans are any different. I'm just saying it's interesting. I feel like we all need that taste. All of us,
yeah.
all ethnic groups need that enrichment and that identity to kind of be
Mm,
like, where, who are we who do we come from? You know,
mm,
which rib, which piece of flesh do we originate from? And there's a
yeah.
pure beauty and a superpower, that
Yeah.
that comes from that.
Oh, yeah, completely. And it's not to say that when you find out where you come from, you now have to look and talk a certain way. I
Yeah.
think what's most important about understanding where you come from is that I think we're all born with this innate feeling of wanting to belong,
Mm,
right? Whether you want to deny it or not, we all want to belong. We want to belong
100%.
somewhere. Hence why you have certain people being like, oh no, I want to move to Ghana because that's where my ancestors are from. That's fine. It's because you have a sense of needing to belong. But what is critical for us is to understand that if we as a people are going through all of these struggles, and I'm going to be very specific for myself or for a certain group of people, because obviously this is what's kind of heightened right now. But if we're going to be going through this repetition of struggles, does that mean that we actually need to just sit down and say, okay, how am I doing things? Maybe the way I'm doing things is the way I've been taught. If the things that I'm doing are the way is from the way I've been taught, who taught me? Okay, cool. This person taught me, or this system that's not made for me taught me. So therefore, I'm not going to win because the system was never made for me to win. So therefore, I need to break the system and actually understand my root, understand my people, understand where I come from, so I learn. Oh, this is where things went wrong, and this is how I can start making it better in my space, in my family, in my community, in my village, in my friends, at work, and the people around me. We can start to be more proud about ourselves. We can start to walk a little bit better. We can start to identify our purposes better, because this is also the struggle. If you don't know where you come from, I think this is also another reason why people struggle to understand their purpose in life. Why am I here? if you don't know where you're coming from, or if you don't have a full understanding, like have a better understanding so you can start seeing, oh, that makes sense why I end up having, more love for a certain kind of generosity, or, fighting for people, or, wanting a passion for intellect and, serving the mind or whatever it is. So it definitely affects our purpose and how we can make our societies better. We really need to dig deeper into that and correct things as well. Bad behavior needs to be corrected.
Oh yeah.
But I can.
Yeah, we could go on. Even myself, I own up to that. But maybe just in conclusion, I would task everyone as well, like whenever you can, regardless of color, ethnic group, culture, religion, whatever it may be, whatever separates you from others. Start that journey. Really look at it. Start with your parents. Start with reading or read more books. Start with asking people around. Just kind of do. You don't have to do it like full time. Life is still there. As we said, friends are there, partners are there. But just take on the challenge of trying to understand where you come from, how you got here, and how you're moving forward.
Mm,
Mm.
it's
Ho-
critical, man. And it's going to be beautiful. It's a beautiful story to tell and to actually discover when you go down that journey. Take it from me. Trust me. It's beautiful.
Exactly. Homie, thank you
Mm,
so much for coming through, spending you basically with me for about an hour and a half almost. It's
yeah.
always a joy. I really do regret, like it annoys me, that I didn't have tea. Because normally on this show I'll indulge on some liquor. So today I was like, man, I gotta have some simmer inspiring beverage or liquids that's gonna put me in that. Even though I'm happy with what we spoke about, but I was gonna have that little, my tongue would be moving a little bit like,
I,
yeah, I just feel like.
mm.
Nah, I just.
It's
But now
awesome.
we'll catch up. To everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. Tafstar, we will definitely speak. My door's always open. And I can't
Always.
wait until we can meet again.
I'm so excited. This thing needs to go down so I can just hug you.
Right? Damn
Yeah,
Corona.
man.
All
Damn it.
right, all right, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll see you again next week, same time. Much love.